There we go. Ted Hut. All right. Good morning, Facebook family and friends, YouTube family and friends. Once again, it is myself, Greg Harris, and Mr. Banks coming to you live again on Wednesday, October 31st, 2018 at 10:35 a.m. And today's subject is going to be on Agent Orange exposure by location and filing a claim for Agent Orange. What you're hearing in the background is Captain Buffalo uh, from the movie Sergeant Rutledge.
Who's Captain
All right.
When the flames and Dennis first saw the troopers of the night cavalry, which is the dead of winter, they were all wearing buffalo coats and keep them warm. Buffalo caps on. They look like buffaloes.
And later on down the road, we're going to explain to you why we incorporated Captain Buffalo into our Avisi program. And before I go any further, we can say thank you to Mr. Banks for that, because Mr. Banks was the one that brought Captain Buffalo to our attention, and the movie Sergeant Rutledge. So as I said, we'll get to that down the road. But today we're going to get on topic here and talk about Agent Orange exposure, and Agent Orange by location, and what you need to know to put a claim in for Agent Orange. First of all, I want to say that Agent Orange was mostly used in the Vietnam War, the Korean War. As we know, through Korea, the DMZ, demilitarization zone. Also, the West Coast, when the soldiers and Marines and sailors were in Air Force, the military was leaving, going out and coming back in via the C-130s, the ships, and via cargo and what have you. The biggest issue that I have with the Agent Orange is seeing that a lot of the veterans are dealing with the major three things. There are a number of issues that come behind Agent Orange exposure, but the biggest three that I've seen so far is with the ischemic heart disease, the kidney disease, and the diabetes. And as we all know, that those are just some of the three presumptive illnesses that are coming with Agent Orange exposure. There are so many issues out there, and the VA keeps changing these things. There are drastic changes that they're making to the rules, but they keep changing it at a rate to where if you're not keeping up with it, or if you're not aware of even the basics of what's going on during the middle processing or filing a claim, or even thinking about a claim, it's easy for you to get lost and for your claim to be written up to where the VA won't recognize it. And with that being said, I'm going to pause here and open the floor to Mr. Banks, and then I'll come back on.
Good morning, radio TV audience. Well, the one thing about it, as far as the Agent Orange question, beginning date was August, I believe, all around August 1st, 2010, concerning all veterans who were exposed to Agent Orange during the period, I believe, of
68.
65,
Yes, sir. And then, yes, sir.
1975. And since that time, when we've processed numerous claims based on Agent Orange for our Vietnam veterans and veterans who were in Korea and also Germany. In each particular area during that course, still all relates back to the time frame between 1968 and 1975. So don't misunderstand. If you were in Korea in 1944, it won't cover you. If you and same thing with Germany. But if you were in Germany in 1968 through 1965, in that era, then you are considered a Vietnam era veteran. Now, what does that represent? The criteria for eligibility, if you were in Germany during that period, during the 1968-1975 period, is that you must have been either handling, that is, distributing or handling Agent Orange. Most of the Agent Orange in Germany was used on the DMZ, which was the demilitarized zone, which is the zone, the dividing line between East and West Germany. If you were a soldier working in that arena or at that DMZ, more likely than not, you were inundated or come in contact with Agent Orange because they sprayed chemicals, the Agent Orange, on the DMZ to keep the foliage and down and to keep it clear so that the East could see what the West was doing, and basically to try to protect our troops from being sniped from foliage that covered up the area. The same thing happened with Korea. The same about the DMZ. The North Korea was the North and South Korea. If you were in Korea and you worked on the DMZ as a guard, then you would be entitled to Agent Orange benefits if you worked on there and they sprayed the chemicals in your area. Now, when it comes to the train of thought, but when it came down to the people who were subjected to Agent Orange in Thailand, Thailand is a kind of a different item because in Thailand, the one specific Air Force base that I'm familiar with was the Air Force base called Korat. And anyone who was on that Air Force base, they had the regular Thai Air Force base there in Thailand, and Korat was a kind of like a sub camp adjacent to, really attached to the Korean Air Force base. And they sprayed that area consistently, Korat and the Thailand Air Base, consistently with Agent Orange. Now, the difference is there were a lot of people, there were a lot of GIs, American soldiers who worked in Thailand, but not necessarily for specifically combat purposes. What do you mean? Combat purposes mean supplying guard duty, work details, what's called perimeter upkeep.
That's right.
And et cetera. If you were a clerk and you never went out on the perimeter or never did any work on the perimeter or did anything that would make you come in contact with Agent Orange, 9 times out of 10, you would be considered one who was not eligible because of non-contact with Agent Orange. Now, however, there were many people that we now know, veterans that we now know, who were performing multiple jobs. So you have to make sure, as a veteran who was in Thailand, if you were, let's say you were airplane mechanic, if you worked on airplanes that came from Vietnam, let's say the jets that came, or the helicopters, or whatever equipment came from Vietnam that you had to work on to get it back in operation, and then was sent back to Vietnam. Consequently, if you was doing that, then you probably would be eligible for Agent Orange. We just have to go and find out what was your specific duties? And because we know that there were planes that were worked on that did not carry Agent Orange in correct. The other thing is you have to also look at veterans who were in Korat who was responsible for the maintenance of the grounds, that included the perimeter, because Korat was, if we went back and did all the research and study, before Vietnam, Korat didn't exist. So Korat was a installation that was created and built by the U.S. Military Service veterans. And in that, most of these people who were there in 1968, everybody who was involved was helped with the building of the berms and the perimeter to make sure that in case the enemy came in, which that they would have a compound for which to fight and secure themselves and the equipment of the United States. So that's kind of like an overview. Certainly, again, as I said, if you were in, and then of course, then the Vietnam veterans who had, and there's been this long debate about boots on the ground and brown water and blue water, and boots on the ground veterans, that's already been resolved mostly, and plus the brown water veterans in Vietnam, those who were patrolling the inlands of Vietnam and taking on enemy fire. But then the ones that were called the blue water, who were out in the ships, and the last information that we got on it about 4 months ago is that really had passed the House, but it had not. I believe it had passed the House, but had not passed
Made it to the Senate. Yes, sir.
And so that's still pending. At least the House passed it. I believe it's the House, and said that yes, the blue water veterans should be entitled to Agent Orange, because on those ships that they had docked out into the bay, they bought all kind of equipment in support of the Vietnam War, and also that included barrels and barrels of Agent Orange. So even on the ship, it may be that, and we do have some veterans that says, look, I work down in the area in supply and in the holding places where they kept these barrels of Agent Orange until I was in contact with it. It just depends on what your particular circumstances. But the clear evidence of those who were affected by Agent Orange is those who were in the actual theater in Vietnam. But look, if you were in any one of those areas and you feel you were exposed to Agent Orange, you need to process a claim.
That's right.
Don't just automatically assume that you're not eligible. You make VA give you a determination either whether you are eligible for Vietnam exposure, Agent Orange exposure, excuse me, and or whether you're not eligible for Agent Orange exposure, based upon your locale, and I say locale, your duty station, and based upon your job duties. Excuse me. So there it is at that point. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, sir. And okay, sir. Yes, sir. We certainly would like to explore all the avenues. Agent Orange exposure is no different than any other claim. If you don't have a claim, you don't have a claim. If you do have a claim, we will explore all the avenues of your claim to put a proper claim together for you to submit it for the VA for an answer. The worst thing they can do is not answer at all. The best thing they can do is tell us no, because now we know a direct answer as to why they denied it, and we can fight that to the highest degree that we can fight it to. The Vietnam War uh, was a war. It was a mother, and we still have the veterans of that war still living today, and they're dealing with issues. I encourage you to, if you served during the Vietnam War, served in the Vietnam War, to, if you at least don't come to a visa, go somewhere to get your medical issues addressed, and to file a claim to at least see where it goes. Don't just sit back and rest, because the VA is not going to come to you and say, hey, you serve, thank you. This is what we're going to do for you. Nope, not going to happen.
It's interesting that you mentioned that. This week we had the people that we serve. We've had this week along, well, last week, 2 veterans who were Vietnam veterans who died as a result of diseases and difficulties that resulted from Agent Orange in Vietnam. And we're processing their claims right now. There are other veterans who, during the course of our work here, who have still yet to file a claim, who were Vietnam veterans who were wounded. And and they're talking about, well, the heck with the government. I don't want to have nothing to do with the government. Well, you're a foolish person. If you went and served this country and
you did
were wounded, and here you are now, you got one leg, can't hardly move, can't hardly walk, and then you're saying the heck with the government, and so you won't file a claim because your mind is ignorant. That is plumb lunacy to me. Yeah, you need to file a claim for PTSD because you definitely got something going on with your brain when you sitting down talking about on the street begging for a quarter, and that's what's happening. You out there begging for a quarter because you can't go and get a job due to your service-connected injuries. That is really silly. Go ahead.
We're here for you, and like I said, we're gonna sit down with the 38 CFR Code of Federal Regulations, go off the experiences that we get, and each claim is a case-by-case basis. So no two individual claims will be treated the same. They all will be treated with dignity and respect, but they won't be treated the same.
And let me add to that. Now, there's not much more than what if you a Vietnam veteran, and let's say you have ischemic heart disease, which is one of the presumptive diseases. Now, presumptive disease means simply what it means. Presumptive means is that if you are a Vietnam veteran and you have ischemic heart disease or cardiovascular disease, it is presumed by the law that you were exposed to Agent Orange. Now, so that means you don't. If you say I was in Vietnam and I was a combat soldier, I worked out into the field and I was worked in the boonies, and I was going through the jungle, and I was inundated with spray from the airplanes or whatever, however method they use to spray the Agent Orange. If that condition exists, it's automatically presumed that you were connected with Agent Orange. So VA doesn't go through an exhaustive data search trying to find out whether or not the particular chemical that you were interacting with was actually Agent Orange or some other chemical that you got sprayed with. We know they sprayed Agent Orange in Vietnam, and you was there, then you were inundated with Agent Orange. I mean, for instance, I'm a prime example. I had open heart surgery, which was related to and presumed to have been caused by Agent Orange, and the Department of Veteran Affairs had to resolve my claim based upon the presumptive fact that I was in Vietnam, I was in the boonies, and I was a 11 Bravo, which is the combat infantry soldier. So, but it just doesn't apply to combat infantry soldiers. It applies to anyone who was exposed directly to Agent Orange or indirectly, such as if I handled equipment. If somebody, even though I might not have went out into the field, but I handled the equipment I
Lord
did.
was on the C-130 coming back.
Yeah, I was on on the airplane, the C-130 that carried the stuff. If I rode on those planes or in the helicopters, Chinooks, and all those things that carried the Agent Orange supplies to the field, I'm entitled. So there's a presumptive standard that VA must adhere to. So don't just sit there and say, well, I don't know what I got or not. I don't want to fool with it. It's more than just, if you're married, especially if you got children, it's more than just you are concerned, because when you die, if you leave family members, then they ought to be compensated by the Department of Veteran Affairs based on the fact, because if the cause of your death is related to Agent Orange, then they're entitled to benefits.
That's right, Bill. Your service connected death.
Well, so it is incumbent upon all veterans. I don't care whether you Vietnam or you Afghanistan or whatever. If you're a veteran who have been exposed to environmental and hostile conditions as a result of conflicts of war, you need to process your claim. Don't sit there waiting and trying to figure out because the saddest mistake that ever happened to all of our most Vietnam veterans, including myself, is that, I did not act sooner than I should have acted when I left the military, because the system itself did not avail us the opportunity to know what the heck we should be applying for anyway. As a matter of fact, September of 1986 is when the first claims went out regarding Agent Orange, which was against the pharmaceutical companies. I think, chemical companies, rather. And those claims went out against those companies, and there was not a mass letter sent out from the Department of Veteran Affairs to all Vietnam veterans saying, if you want to file a claim, here's your option to file a claim. At least I said, like I told my Rachel, I never received that letter. But lo and behold, when they resolved the issue with the chemical company, they resolved the issues, and those people who had filed a claim got a little stipend. And then some 43 years or 44 years later, finally, the federal government had to acknowledge that Agent Orange was a disease or a chemical that caused all these other different diseases and disabilities that we have, such as coronary artery disease, lymphoma, diabetes. It's a whole list of issues that develop, and rash. I have a rash right now, jungle rash I got in Vietnam, and I still got that rash to this day. But you go to VA, well, we don't know what it is, but I know what it is. It came from Vietnam. You may not know what you call it, but you know it came from Agent Orange. And so there are many veterans who walk around, with blotches and patches and of rash and scars on them in their back, on their private parts, because of the Agent Orange chemical that was saturated in their clothes, and then it went into their body system. This stuff, the Agent Orange was bad because it went into the pores of your skin, and it worked its way in, and it caused these diseases. So, sister and brother, comrade, look. I'm just as proud of being an American citizen as anybody else who will. Proud I serve. Matter of fact, in my just personal opinion, I think every person in the United States that's eligible, once they become 17, 18 years old, they ought to do at least 2 years of service. Because you need to understand, we live in a country that is not just given freedom, it has a price to be paid for freedom. So I agree 100%. Freedom is not free, I know. But I put 365 days in a place that I had no unction of knowing why I was really there. I still don't know to this day, other than the fact that my country called for my services and I had to go, and I went. So, but I wouldn't want to be in no other country. Just to put it like that. Yeah, is what I know to be this country is what I subscribe to as being uh, the greatest country that I know. So, but heretofore, still, this federal government and the faction behind it owe the veterans for the services rendered that we rendered as veterans to this country, to the freedom of this country, to the all the things that we do as did as veterans to maintain the livelihood that we have in this country and the freedoms that we have in this country. So, I mean, if you're a veteran, make sure you get out and make your application. If you don't know what's going on, you know, you got all these agencies, VFW, DAV, so, and then you got us, you know, call us up, come by and see us if you're in our area, Forest, Arkansas. But best thing you can do, if you want to know these things, get on the internet. The internet got everything you want to know on the internet. As far as what's up to date, what happened back then, why wars were occurring, why the Vietnam War or any other war that was occurred. And you know what happened in those conditions and what you can do to receive benefits for what your service did.
As always, hit that red subscribe button and also hit that bell to the right of that subscribe button to receive notifications when we go live and when we post a video. As I always say, donate to the channel. And also, as we get further along in our organization, we won't be just looking at monetary donations. Those are always good, but looking for some quality people to come down and volunteer some time with us here at the Visa. Maybe we got a date and you don't have anything going, or you're looking for something to do. Come down and check us out.
And that's a good point. I mean, you can come out here and volunteer, or come out here just to learn how to do it. You don't have to be. And let me say, we are not an accredited we are not an accredited organization. We don't represent anyone. We assist any veteran who wants to know what their rights are and how to file a claim. We will assist you in processing and to the fullest extent of the law your claim. So if you want to come down and as Brother Harris said, and learn how to process a claim, we'll help you do that. Because it may be you want to take this back to your area, to your locale, and assist the veterans in your area instead of them having to try. We had people drive from California just to get our services.
Mississippi,
Texas. I mean, right now, currently, we have assisted people in 23 states, and it's continuing to increase. And the reason why we are able to do that because we make it our business to go to the full extent that we can to assist veterans the best we can. And you know, we do a great job, I've said my own self, for the rendering of our services that we do to help assist veterans. I mean, it is our passion. There's no, because so many people who have lost that. I mean, before we started this organization, and let me just be frank, there were people there were widows and children who wasn't getting their benefits because they didn't know how to go and pursue and properly process claims. And when they would go to the people who were supposed to help them, those people denied them the right, denied them the opportunity or even representing or helping them. And these people were in a position who were designated by the government to help them. And they didn't even help them. So we had to wind up coming in and assist them to get them proper adjudication for their claim and lost loved ones. So look, you don't have to wait on the system to go out and process your claim. Get up, get yourself, call us, call any of these organizations that you can trust. I mean, and I have to say frankly, I don't trust every organization that's affiliated or subscribing to the accredited process, because some of these people here doesn't do what they're supposed to do. I mean, we seeking accreditation, but we hadn't got it, but so be it. But we still gonna assist, and we know how, the best we know how, people, veterans, and spouses and their benefits with their claims. Matter of fact, we have, every year we have, at time, along about time for graduation, we got called after call about how do I use my daddy's VA benefits? Can I go to school off what my parent, my mother, being a veteran, did? Can I do it? And so we have to go and direct these people to the right places to go. But I'll say this here: for most things that you want to determine what you want to get done, as far as a veteran's service and your rights and eligibility, go to the internet. The internet is it. I mean, that's the engine. If you want to know it, just type in, what are my benefits right as a veteran? And I guarantee you'll have a whole list of issues on the internet that'll tell you what you need to do. How do I process the claim? They'll tell you on that internet how you the stage. They'll tell you the forms you need to use. It'll tell you the process and the steps you need to use. So there's no reason why you shouldn't be processing claims, except for if you just think that intellectually you can't do it. But I debunk that idea as well, because it's not intellectually, it's not that hard to do. You can do it. What I would suggest you do is, if you're going to do it, get your preliminary information as best you can, know how, and whatever you're going to do, and then get you somebody to help assist you. Don't try to go at it alone, because I believe that old adage that anyone who tries to represent themselves got a fool for a client. I believe that. You got to have somebody on the outside or sitting on the sideline saying, this is where we need to go. And by the way, we at Avisa, we definitely have our own particular attorney system that we confer with and refer to when we have any questions that you might need answered, or we might need answered, and also that we might feel that it needs a more of a expertise in the field of law. So, but other than that, most of these cases can be adjudicated at the lower level simply by just following what the law says. I mean, we are bound by the law, and VA is bound by it as well.
That's right. That's right. And as we say here at Avisa, our motto is, to the last disability, to the last disease, to the last claim, we fight, we fight, we fight. Anything else, sir?
That's it.
At ease.